Mute. Alrighty, Rue. Hey everybody, it's been a while, but welcome to another episode of the Melee Monkeys with a temporary co-host, Largehorn.
Hello.
So, first off, I just want to say that Brashear won't be joining us for a while due to he broke his wrist, so he's not really been playing much. And so he doesn't really have a lot to contribute to the podcast, unfortunately, because he hasn't been able to see the raid and whatnot. So for now, we're going to have Largehorn come in. In case you don't remember him, he is one of our main tanks, co-raid lead and whatnot.
Trying to get the stupid glare off my face.
You have a lot of
just
like
not so like hastily white.
It's because your camera's like auto exposuring for some reason.
Yeah.
But yeah, so tonight we're gonna talk about killing Blackhand, heroic Blackhand finally. Very briefly, I don't want to talk too much about it because we've talked a lot about Blackhand previously. And then we're gonna talk about the new raid, the bosses we've killed on normal so far, and our impressions on heroic, the little bit we did, and hopefully just get an overall impression of the patch so far. So that's the plan for tonight. I hope you all are ready for some hopefully interesting conversation. Tis working. That is working.
Okay. Cool. Awesome.
So
I think it's gonna be an interesting conversation. We'll just have to wait and see, though.
Yeah. Well, been a while, so I may be rusty. So we also don't have a guest tonight, just because again it's a fresh start after a break. So I thought I'd just keep it pretty casual and then see where we go from there. So
that's good.
Large.
Yes.
Basically, Blackhand took 100 and something attempts, and it took me
156.
Yeah.
I think is officially what the monkey business wipe count is.
Yeah, it's quite up there. So what are some of the things you think were the biggest issues, like top 3 biggest issues, and then what do you think really helped push us along to get that kill?
Well, number 1 was definitely managing the AoE damage in Phase 2.
Right.
We had some serious issues with that. Most of that was ironed out once we figured out the ad management in the upper sections of the fight. I don't believe it was 115, Joel.
I think mine was at 150, and I did at least 20 more wipes, I think.
I know I at least had 127. So,
Archelos, you don't count.
But that I know that the impales, Marked for Death impales, that was a huge issue. Once we got the AoE damage under control, that's what cropped up as the big one next. And then third, I mean, I think it was positioning in Phase 3. Once we kind of got that under our belts, even just during the LOL one shot that was Monday Night Kill. Now, as to contributing, I think trimming down the raid helped. I know we started out with 15, 16 people, and we worked our way down to 13, and then to 12, and then to 11, and we still weren't quite making it. And then we went in with 10 on Monday night, and all one shot.
Yeah, it was quite surprising. Like, I mean, it wasn't that surprising considering the night before, but like, it just seemed so weird that we spent literally the whole night on Sunday night just so close, and getting that 75k wipe was just like, oh my god, we're so close, but we just couldn't quite get it. And then we come back Monday night fresh, just went in with 10 people, and we just one-shot it.
I think part of that, though, was, I mean, realistically, we monkeys, after about 11 o'clock, we don't really get any better.
Right.
It's just, even if we're working on the boss for ages, we just don't get any better.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, yeah, because most of you are on the East Coast, so it's getting late. People probably did stuff all day.
Pretty late.
like work, like people. So
Well, Sunday, it was Sunday, so
oh yeah, that's right.
that I'm sure most people had kind of a leisurely day, but I'm sure some people still had incredibly early days with like church and families and stuff. So.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it makes sense too. At the end of the night, it gets kind of rough. But we did do it. We got the kill, and it was definitely relieving, I think, for a lot of people, especially since one was literally the night before patch, and
it was our last night. We didn't have that was it.
Yeah, and a lot of people got their achievements, and I think it just kind of just a huge sigh of relief for pretty much the entire raid, especially those that had been there every single night trying to progress.
I admit though, it was kind of annoying that it was a lull one shot. The reason for that is well, maybe if we'd just had that one more good attempt Sunday night, we wouldn't even had to have been there.
Yeah, that's true, but again, it's so hard to know, especially at that point in the night.
Definitely.
So, needless to say, we were all happy for that. So, except for Twiz, he was pissed because he had to work and missed the kill.
He wasn't the only one.
Yeah,
I know. Dragon was a bit miffed that he didn't get in for it, which unfortunately it happened.
Yeah.
Right, and then that didn't help. Tempers were already Sunday night. We definitely had some tempers flare, and it was because we lost Tuesday night. Then my ISP being shit, and then we lost Thursday night to my ISP being even shittier.
Yeah. And that's just life. Shit happens, and
yeah, no, it was totally inexplicable. It didn't no rhyme and reasoning or to anything of it, but it just what happened.
Yep.
But I know that Dragon was definitely a bit miffed about it, but we're gonna be okay, mostly because Saturday tomorrow, we're gonna start working on getting another save clear going or getting everybody else in who wasn't there.
Yeah.
Get their kill. So
I think that'll be good, especially for those that missed it, and I mean, obviously it sucks when we have to sit people because we want everybody to get that kill and have that same kind of feeling of accomplishment because it is a big deal, especially after how long we've worked on it. But sometimes that's just how it goes. Like the seniority doesn't matter at that point. If as a guild we want to get the kill, sometimes we just gotta drop people. Unfortunately, it's just part of how it goes.
Unfortunately, and when it was that tight, and I mean, for us, it was that tightly tuned.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it is what happened. It is what it is.
Yep.
It's not because we needed any gear or anything. Although Joel did luck out and get his tanking trinket, but it was just one of those way the cookie crumbles. I'm hoping, Daniel, that it's not like that for Archimon.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll be honest. I'll be okay if it is, because this is the first time ever an actual raid tier has taken us the entire amount of time. We had a lot to it. I mean, we quite literally finished the day before the new raid tier. So there is that.
Yeah, and so basically that's basically it for Blackhand, and like Large said, there's gonna be some opportunity for people to get that kill again, or people who haven't gotten it yet. So unfortunately they won't get the head of the curve achievement, but getting the kill, I think, is still something you can claim as an achievement. So
it's definitely true, and I'm mildly annoyed by Joel's saying something there.
Yeah, Joel
Did you hack the trinket from somebody who might have used it? He might have used it, right?
Yeah, it was an upgrade for my tanking trink, so
never gonna use it. Killing me, Joel.
Killing me, man. So so that's basically it. We're leaving 6.1 kind of in the past, in the back there. We don't want to really do it much anymore, but So now we 6.2 hit, and first night, on Tuesday night when it dropped, we went in and did Hellfire Citadel, and my first impressions of it were disappointing.
That's I can agree with that. It definitely didn't feel all that enjoyable.
And I mean, again, there was a lot of factors for me personally that night because I had literally been on all day streaming, so I could have been a little bit meh. But I know for other people who hadn't been on all day, it wasn't as great as it probably could have been. But the reasons I didn't like it, it was just like, it just felt so raffle. Like, again, we're in heroic gear, it should kind of feel raffle a little bit, maybe, but like, the fact that it was just like we just plowed through those bosses and ignoring all the mechanics basically, which I really hate. I hate when we do something, and this is not even in raid, this is just like in general dungeons and stuff, when you just like plow through something without learning stuff, and it just really bothers me.
No, I definitely don't have a problem when it's been a while, like going back and doing Gruul on normal, or like our main raid group, you know, that should literally be Raffle Stomp.
Yeah,
but
totally.
But like, I knew enough about the mechanics of that first boss. And, of course, I openly admit I hate ad fights, especially like the first boss. Absolutely hate them. And it definitely didn't help that that's how it started, was an ad fight, and it was one of those, oh, well, these are what's going on. We're gonna wipe on this on heroic, and it'll probably be if not all of night. We get there.
Yeah, it was. I don't even understand the appeal at all of ad fights, like why they're even a thing. Like, I actually have no idea why that's even a concept Blizzard came up with.
I have a theory, and I think it boils down to Blizzard doesn't know how to do interesting tank mechanics except as one-offs, unless they're ad fights. Because it's either a tanking debuff that you got to trade on X, or it's ads. Like, those are their go-to solutions for tank fight or for tank mechanics. And I want Fang mechanics. Second boss and Mogushin Bolts. That tank mechanic, where quite literally the off tank could make or break the raid based on how they used their abilities, was just that was a lot of fun. Like, I got us the achievement on that fight simply because I was just that good with it.
Right.
You know, those are fun tanking mechanics, and I understand you can't have those in opening bosses. Like, Mogushin Vaults was really kind of the exception, but I mean, even then, I don't think starting off as I really feel the second boss should have been the first boss.
Yeah, I agree, because we would get that first boss, warm up everybody, right, and then kind of like, and you could feel the progression. Whereas this, it's like, and I'm talking about heroic at this point, where we were literally sitting there at a lull, because again we found out that Blizz is like, yo, we did overtune this, lol, just kidding, we love you guys, and so we got better, but it was just still, we couldn't quite do it. And like you said earlier today, where we're in heroic gear, we should be able to progress in heroic, and we just weren't doing that. So,
well, Arceus brings up a point. Like, we were like, every component we had really strong damage numbers. We had all our healers were doing really great. I was doing absurd amounts of healing, tanking, and we just couldn't do anything. We kept falling behind and we kept losing.
Yeah, and so at that point we knew that something was off, and so basically at that point we switched and went back to work on normal. So so let's go back to normal here. And the first boss, it's an ad fight. It's kind of it's obnoxious. On normal it was really raffle though. We literally, I think the only thing we really worried about was the Fellcasters, kind of, and the Crusher tank that came out.
Yeah, the borer. I
yeah.
think the borer. I think honestly, the borer was the only thing we worried about,
Yeah.
and that was because Melee jumped in front of it, almost died, and then I knew especially that we had to kill that, and we had to kill it ASAP.
Yeah. So basically, that's kind of just how it was. The second boss, again, we were like, honestly, I was noticing like one of the mechanics where you have to kill the bombs. Nobody was doing it. Well, not nobody. I'm not gonna say that, but some people obviously weren't killing bombs, and
right. Not enough people were doing it.
Yeah, not enough people were doing it, and we still plowed through the boss. It was just like, okay, obviously that's going to be really problematic in heroic, especially if we're not following mechanics. Mechanics they're there for a reason, and that's the and that's the main reason why I don't like the fact that normal was just rawful, because here we're learning kind of the mechanics, but we need to practice it stuff. So
right, no, I definitely agree there. I mean, that fight, the air phase in that fight is where it's going to make or break the fight, and you might be able to get one bomb to go off because you didn't DP kill it in time. But I know letting the 2 or 3 or 4 that we did on normal just isn't going to fly.
No, I totally agree. I did like that second boss fight though. It was interesting, like the whole air phase, because I don't think I've ever fought a boss with an air phase that was relevant. Because like Onyxia obviously had an air phase and all that kind of stuff, and so it was kind of a new thing for me to experience as a player.
No, like definitely. And I mean, going back and comparing it to all of the other air phases, like Syndragosa's was kind of fun on 25. I wasn't a huge fan of it on 10, and that was just because there really wasn't much to do in 10. Positioning didn't really matter in 10 man, or in 25 it did. Onyxia, well, Onyxia is Onyxia. You know, that fight is iconic and all. But I definitely like the fact that it was different. The Fel Reaver one was different.
Yeah. It was definitely, I could, even though again, like I've seen all the other air phases just based on running through old content and stuff. But that one, for whatever reason, just it did feel unique in a way. I'm not sure why, but it did. It was kind of cool.
I liked the fact that it brings back he's got the giant circle when he lands. A la like Nightbane. Like if anyone remembers Nightbane, when Nightbane landed from an air phase, if you were under him, you could actually be like took damage. You could be killed, which was kind of cool. Also, some of his abilities actually, like he throws fire out on the ground, and then like his charge ability that he charges around the room actually moves the fire piles.
Okay, that's cool.
Which was pretty cool. So
yeah, and I also
lots of potential with that fight.
Yeah, I also really like the Fel Reaver graphic. He just seemed I don't know,
he's a badass.
Yeah, he's super badass. It was just really cool. And it's kind of nice to see the Fel Reavers, because even though, again, I wasn't around in BC, I know that the giant Fel Reavers walking around are pretty iconic themselves as well, because you would turn around, and especially back then with maybe you had a crappy computer and it's like you're running and then all of a sudden you see the giant Reaver in front of your face because of load delay, and you're just like, oh my fucking god.
No, it wasn't even load delay. You could be killing mobs and then your screen would start shaking because one was in range of you. And then when it started shaking, if you weren't instantly getting away from wherever it was, you were dead.
That's awesome. Yeah. So seeing a Fel Reaver as like an actual raid boss, it was just like, it's really cool.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I definitely prefer it over Loot Reaver, aka the one in Tempest Keep.
Oh god.
That one was a pretty easy fight. But
hey Brash.
No, this one's pretty cool. Hey, it's Brash.
It is Broken Brashear. Yeah, so that fight was pretty good. Now the third boss, I actually really fucking like a lot. I don't know why, but I actually love it. Even though we were having a little bit of a hard time with it, there's just something about it I fucking love.
It's pretty cool. I definitely like the mixing and the intricacy of those three different mechanics.
Yeah, to explain just a little bit in case people haven't seen it or whatever, is just like, I know Brash hasn't seen it, so there's basically 3 pools, and depending on what pool you start off with, you get like, we start off with red pool, and you get like, there's empowered versions of these pools and stuff, and the empowered versions, there's all these mechanics, and then there's like the empowered version has like an extra mechanic to it, and like all of the pools have them. Extra. And I'm not gonna go into specifics, but just like all the extra mechanics you get, and they're not super obnoxious. They're not like hard to deal with.
I don't know. Empowered hands was
Okay.
arguably both of those.
Okay, that's true. But once Arculos was like, "Yo, let's get into groups." It was still a little bit annoying, but it helped like a ton.
Oh,
like,
it was definitely the way they do the mechanic.
Yeah,
but it was just one of those.
Like we all like the one wipe where we had everybody stack up on me, and then like we all like instantly
Everyone died.
Oh my god. And it's just like, and like the blobs, it's just like all the fucking blobs everywhere, and it's all like pretty colors. I don't know. It's just like
they're pretty colors everywhere, and they're all moving at different speeds and at different angles, and it was
it's just it's really fun. It's gonna be a shit show on Heroic, but I'm so excited for it.
The soft and rage on that fight, like if you don't kill him in time, so he does a certain number of jumps, what have you, and then after so many, and it's all based on timing, it looks like. After so many, he gains the effects of all 3 pools at once.
Oh. Oh my god. That would be like the biggest shit show ever, but like I almost want it to happen because it would be so amazing. Just like oh my god, just
all the stuff.
Everything.
Gotta deal with everything now.
Oh man, it's so good. It's so good. Yeah, so that fight, I'm really, and also when we first do like a raid, I do not bother learning the names of bosses, so I'm gonna forget boss names in the first little bit, but I'll remember them at some point.
That's fair. I don't remember his name either. I think it starts with an M.
Yeah. No, that's the one that's like Chromog, but it's Carmack or something. Is it that one? I don't even know.
No, I think it starts with an M.
Okay, I don't even. Or Mark.
Mark
Rock. What the? It's like backwards.
No, I think that's I think Mark Rock is the misspelling of a boss in Siege of Orgrimmar.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we're talking about a raid boss, yo. We're talking about. Oh yeah, Kappa. Anyways, so yeah, so that's pretty much the third boss. It's just like, I don't know. There's just so many sweet mechanics. That's the thing, is I love mechanics. Like, even though mechanics are generally the Monkeys' issue when it comes to like progressing and stuff, I love them. I love just
these were monkey friendly mechanics though.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true.
It's stack up. It's okay. We got 5 or 6 things to deal with. But we always have 5 or 6 people who are capable of dealing with those. And then it's dodge the bad stuff. Like they're monkey friendly mechanics, and they're definitely interesting. No, if Blizzard knew we were bad at mechanics, we wouldn't have things like some of the later fights. I tell you what, Gorfiend's gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah. So that's that boss, and then we went and killed the council boss.
Purple chat hype.
There's so much purple. So much purple. Yeah, so the 4th boss we encountered was the council fight. I'm still not 100% sure on all of the mechanics going on in that fight. I know that we gotta make sure we don't kill either one of them. Like, we gotta make sure they're all down to about, what was it, like 40% ish or 35?
I think we aimed for 35.
Okay. Because when they hit 30, they get an empowered version of their, like, they become empowered basically, right?
Yeah, they gain a new ability, and they tend to suck.
Yeah. So yeah, yours changed, Crash, just so you know. Yeah, so again, another empowerment kind of mechanic, which again I actually don't mind. I actually really like it for some reason. It's just like, sure, it's like maybe just kind of copy paste, but there's something about it.
Right, and they did it at least with interesting abilities, and I definitely like the empower mechanics as the pseudo, okay, now it's going to get hard parts of council fights. Because I mean, the beginning of a council fight tends to be, can you manage however many bosses it is?
Yeah.
And then very rarely does the fight get easier the less bosses you have. At least here more recently. But no, I definitely I think it's fun, and I like the fact that it's not a stack them all up and AoE them down.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. It's again the thing. Like, I knew I was excited for this raid because I actually was excited about the gear change, which we'll talk about a little bit in a sec. But I was excited for that because it rewarded you for doing harder content and gave you better gear, which I felt like it should have been like a thing for like ever, in my opinion. And the fact that we came in and like, sure, the first little bit was kind of meh, but like working on seeing these mechanics and stuff, like it just pumped me more up for the rest of this raid and to see it on heroic and stuff. So
yeah, no, I'm
really
with
excited.
you there. I'm definitely excited. My expectations are very tempered though, and that's because I enjoy watching like the PTR videos. I really enjoy the Fat Boss ones. The Fat Boss PTR ones. Mostly because they're like, yeah, we didn't kill it, but hey, this is kind of what happens. This is what we think might happen. This is actually gonna be a really cool boss. You get some really cool insights there.
Yeah,
and I just know that the deeper we go, we're gonna get there are some very monkey unfriendly bosses in this raid tier.
Yeah. Yeah, I generally like Fat Boss videos. They do it well. And
they do.
And they're not like obnoxious or anything. They don't come off like elitist and stuff, which is nice to see.
They come off as a couple of English guys having a good time.
Yeah, totally, and that's great. So yeah, this council boss, there's three of them, and one of them can't be tanked, correct?
Blade Master can be tank, kinda, sorta. I mean, all he really does is melees, and then he like jumps away, and then he comes back. Like,
okay, so he's kind of so he's similar to the little mini boss in on Flamebender. He kind of like jumps around and shit.
Yeah, no, and like he doesn't really do a lot, other than his mirror image mechanic. But you can't tank the mirror images, so
yeah, so that makes sense. So we got big guy who looks like Gruul.
Blood Boil. If you guys have done Black Temple, the boss that does Blood Boil, he's back.
Oh right, that's correct.
Because in this timeline, that's where they decided to stick him in. Was here.
No, we're gonna talk about that after we finish talking about done talking about raid stuff. That'll be near the end-ish, so probably another 10-15 minutes of conversation. So yeah, so Blood Boil, he's from Black Temple, which is really cool. I like, even though I didn't do Black Temple, again, really kind of cool thing.
They included the Blood Boil mechanic. It's not quite the same, but it's there. And I believe on Mythic, it's actually the original Blood Boil mechanic,
which is really cool.
Yeah,
you don't like, even though Blizzard is like, sure, they're reusing some content, but like that's kind of the point of this whole expansion, really, is that they're bringing back something that was really iconic, and some of the aspects of it weren't probably what they were hoping, and definitely not what we were hoping, but they did do some good, some great things, especially so far in this raid that we've seen.
Yeah, now that we've done heroic, my initial take on that opening boss, it's gonna be fun. It's just normal mode, that fight was way easier.
Yeah,
than
way easier.
Even normal Blackhand was like.
It was disappointing, basically.
Yeah.
And then And then the third guy in the council fight, I'm assuming it's a she because it looks like a
It
she.
is a she.
She is like kind of like a warlock-esque type, and she's the one that puts out the dot, correct?
Yes.
Yeah,
She's the dot.
the annoying dot. So basically, just so in case you don't know, the dot if it gets dispelled, it goes to the two closest people. And it's not like if a person runs out and you dispel it, it's all good. No, it'll go to the closest two people.
And then on top of that, you can't just leave it on somebody because the damage ramps up over time. So eventually, it does become too much to heal through.
Yeah, exactly. So that's I find obviously it's not affecting me because I'm not a healer, but I would assume that's kind of an annoying mechanic, but maybe not, because maybe it's actually giving healers something to do. I know Arculos is in chat, and he was there, so I'm not sure. Arculos, what are your impressions about that? Obviously, there's going to be a delay. So yeah, he said it's annoying. So that's what I assumed.
I mean, that being said, though, that mechanic had to exist because if it didn't, healers wouldn't have anything to do in that fight.
Yep.
Like, there is very little other raid damage going out.
Oh, okay. Well, heroic it'll be a butt clench. I'm gonna assume, especially if you try to leave it on red longer as you were doing in normal. So that should be interesting. And there's a couple other mechanics. Basically, like there's a reap, which is basically if you have the dot, it drops a void zone underneath you. And so basically,
that's what removes the dot.
Yeah, so healers try to keep the dots as low as possible, but still healing until that reap mechanic happens. Sometimes you gotta dispel and hope for the best, basically. Yeah. So yeah. So
sports.
And then there's empowered versions of all those, or they become empowered and stuff.
They actually, so only the caster's ability becomes empowered. The other two, it's actually a new ability.
Okay.
Blood Boil has a progressively growing maximum health reduction. So I think it starts at maybe 10%, and then it goes up by increments of 5. It might be increments of 10, but the longer he's below 30% of his health, less health you end up with. Right. The Blade Master, the longer he's below 30, he hits people with one of his abilities, and then that leaves this like shadow that'll hit him, keep hitting him throughout the remainder of the fight, and eventually, if he's there too long, it goes on everybody. And then she stops casting Wreck, or whatever the Void Zone ability is, and then just the dot keeps going out.
Oh yeah, that's right. So basically, shit hits the fan, and so that's why we kind of want to just like deal with them one at a time, and try to deal with them as for the least amount of time as possible with their empoweredness. Overall impressions of that fight, again, for me, I kind of didn't even really know what the fuck was going on, so it made it hard for me to kind of really gauge an opinion of the fight. Again, it kind of felt just a little bit like Raffle, not too much, but a little bit, just because I didn't know what the fuck was going on half the time, and I don't know if anybody else was like that.
We did end up wiping on it, though.
Yeah, that's true.
And I know there were a couple of mechanics that I'm sure we're going to have to pay attention to. Like, I know every once in a while there were those big charging Voidwalker things.
Oh, yeah.
That do damage. I know we're going to have to pay attention to that in Heroic. Butt dots. And, like, we definitely didn't get it the first couple of times.
Yeah.
We had to figure out some positioning. Like, there's a stacking tank debuff that the way to reset it is to, kind of kite the boss away from the tank for a while, and he fixates on somebody, and there were those little things that we had to figure out. And so those probably won't be an issue come, Heroic. positioning wise, because we already know how to do them.
Yeah.
But some of them, like the charging Voidwalker guys, like
Yeah, those guys.
That's probably going to be an issue.
Yeah, I remember when I did do that boss kind of in PTR. It was Mythic though, and yeah, those things just fucking wrecked us. Like there was a shit ton of them. So obviously it's going to be less than that in Heroic, but they hurt. So those will definitely be interesting in Heroic, I think.
No, I definitely agree there. They will be.
So for that fight, your impression of it, do you think it's gonna get better in Heroic, as in like more interesting, or do you think it's gonna be pretty much the same?
I definitely don't think it's gonna be more interesting.
Okay.
I think it's gonna be okay, well, now I have to time this cooldown.
Mm-hmm.
I don't. But then again, I mean, council fights really aren't that interesting.
Yeah.
But in this case, I think it's still going to be a fun fight. Like it's not the usual take or not a normal take on a standard council fight like this one, like it would look at first glance.
Right. Cool. And unfortunately we didn't kill this boss, but I kind of want to talk about it a little bit briefly. That makes sense.
Hey Joel, I got to throw us under the bus here.
Yeah. So this boss, this is Kilrog, and so he does a couple mechanics. I'll just do a quick explanation. Basically, he summons these giant dudes. What are they called? Berserkers or something?
The Berserker died.
Whatever.
I don't know.
These big guys, and they do a cast, and it has to be interrupted. Blah blah blah. And then he also does a mechanic where he basically targets a random ranged member and puts an arrow over on the ground and something above their head. They have to move out of the raid. They get hit, and then it spawns an ad, and you gotta kill it, basically. And then there's also another mechanic where he spawns these two other ads. Those also have to die. If they get to the end, they turn into berserkers.
Yeah, they turn into the big guys.
And the big guys can be more than one, can be problematic, basically. And my most favorite mechanic.
Sorry, Joel's calling you out.
I know, and that's fine because I will explain. Brash and I have talked about having you on, but for whatever reason, there was always a lineup of people being guests, and then I was like, okay.
What he's saying is there were just people more important.
I'm sorry, Joel. I'm sorry. But honestly, now that we're having it on a new time, it's probably even a new day and time. It's probably better for you because you can actually probably show up, and you won't have to stay up super late. I don't know what your schedule is like, but obviously, you need to get through all the melee monkeys here. So we need the other tank. But yeah. Anyways, so my favorite thing about this boss is, because I get affected by it, is he also does this visions of death, and basically he spawns.
I have to admit, I think it's hilarious that the one mechanic in the fight is the only one you've had fun with.
So he does this visions of death. He puts 3 runes on the ground, and so you gotta. So basically, there's 2 groups that we realized we needed 2 groups. So one group, the first group would go, is me, Xanol, and Voodoo. And basically, if you stayed long enough to get 20 stacks of this debuff, you did 200% more damage and 200% more healing if you're a healer. And it was just like, it was a gong show. Like, it was really interesting. And yeah, of course I'm like dope that my damage is like way out here, but like it was a cool mechanic again. You get like, it's similar to the one that with Neuroshin in Siege of Orgrimmar, where you kind of like take the orb to get rid of your bad shit to get, so you can do full damage, but instead of that you get a shit ton of damage.
Yeah, no, I get that, and I wish I had been down there so I could comment on it, but I guess in the end it's good because I was up on the top the whole time, so I can comment on the stuff you didn't see.
Yeah, exactly.
If you mute the stream and hear a radio station, it's probably it's probably you.
I do have music on in the background, but it shouldn't be going if you mute the stream, because that makes no sense.
Well, no. He said that. Yeah, no. He corrected himself.
I see. Anyway, so yeah, so those are those are general mechanics, but apparently Joel and Large were doing some funny stuff.
So there was one additional mechanic. So the boss puts out a debuff. He occasionally targets his tank with a debuff that increases the damage that tank takes from all sources by 24% per stack. Well, you can prevent the stack using an active mitigation, which we discovered the attempt before we stopped.
And it makes me lol because it's
we had been trading on stacks and trying to mitigate it that way because you got to do a tank swap because the brutes put a stacking like corruption bar on you, and if you hit 100, you become mind controlled, and there's stuff going on there. But we completely didn't know how to handle that mechanic. When we were actually doing it, we were taunting and trading, and we were mitigating it that way, and then we realized, yeah, we were working way too hard.
Yeah, you're basically making it way harder than it needed to be. But luckily, it didn't break the fight or anything. So
yeah, no, it wasn't the reason why we died, or we'd wipe at any point. But
yeah, and basically, yeah, you all in those ads that spawn after the arrow goes on the ground. Also, you have to kill them, but not only have to kill them because if you get the red ones, what do they do when they reach the boss?
Red ones do an AoE pulse when they hit the boss.
Okay.
The green ones, when they get to the boss, they heal him and do an AoE pulse.
Okay, so yeah, so basically, yeah, you want to kill these globules, because obviously they buff the boss, do damage or whatever. And this fight, even though I feel like it's actually quite simple, it has really simple mechanics, and again, it's actually quite monkey friendly almost, because it's very simple mechanics, and
except for those ads, like we figured out what was going on with the Heart Seekers. We figured that out.
Yeah,
we got that taken care of. But those orc ads, like every time, just there's a certain period of time just before you guys come out of that first vision of death that there always seems to be an ad that gets through.
It's very strange because those are the ones that can actually be flowed and whatnot. Right. So I guess I'm not sure what's going on, obviously, because I'm down in the visions of death, so I don't really see what's going on. But I think we just basically need to find a way, like Cauldress, for example, should always be putting out a slow trap regardless of where the dude is. Just kind of like put one in the general direction, like in that area or something. Like we should be actively doing something in preparation for those ads. I try to run up and get close to do chains of ice to slow them and stuff, but it's like,
right.
Again, I have to leave melee to go do that, and sure, it's my job to go kill ads too, but I know there's multiple people that have different kinds of slows and whatnot. It should be definitely a group effort, and none of those dudes should be getting through, in my opinion, especially with our damage.
No, I don't disagree with you, but they were.
Yeah.
So we were clearly doing something wrong or not doing something right. Whichever way you want to look at it.
Yeah, so it should I think we'll be fine. I think coming back to it whenever we come back to it, either Monday or whatever, I think we'll do a better job. I think after seeing it for a while, and obviously we didn't work on it all night because we did a bunch of heroic attempts and stuff. So
and when we got to it on Tuesday night, it was only like 1 or 2 attempts at it. Like
yeah,
it wasn't
exactly.
We were just like, oh, we'll figure it out by learning it, by doing it. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, basically. I wouldn't mind killing ads, Brash, but you know I'm pretty slow, especially now that I'm in Frost, because I lose that 10% running speed, and I can feel it. It is absolutely brutal. So I'm running as slow as you, but I don't have charge and I don't have leap. So
what he's saying is he's just a shittier version of you.
In mobility wise, not in damage, as we know. Come on now. So yeah, so that fight, it is really fun. Even like I know I get the damage boost, but like overall I think it's simple, but it's there's something about it that's good. It's just like
Yeah. No,
there's
I
nothing
agree
wrong
you
with
there.
simple, to be honest.
I agree with you there, and I mean, some of the simplest mechanics can be some of the funnest ones too. So like, there is that. And I'm looking forward to a couple of later fights. I think they're going to be great. They're gonna suck because we're monkeys, but they're gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean I haven't seen any of the other fights because I like to come in, and I know Brash likes to too, is to come in fresh and like really learn like right out of the gate. And there's nothing wrong with like obviously looking up stuff and whatever.
Yeah, well, in this case, unfortunately, some of us don't have that luxury. We need to at least have a general idea what's going on.
Oh yeah, of
before
course,
we
like,
go into it.
especially
So.
you and Joel, and it totally like that obviously makes total sense. But yeah, so that's basically what happened so far in Raid, and so overall, my impression is like I'm enjoying it. The mechanics are great so far, and I'm having fun. It's like
Good.
more than I
Good.
thought. What about
Because
you?
I know,
What about you,
for
Luke?
some of us on Tuesday, we definitely weren't.
No, I will admit I was not at all happy, but coming back and even I think starting with heroic, even though we wiped, like that was fun, and that kind of put you in the put me in the mood that the rest of the night was going to be good. I don't know why,
Yeah.
but
No, like it was weird. We were wiping hardcore on it, but it was a ton of fun. I just wish we could have figured out what we were doing wrong. Yeah, some of us can't always feel though. At.
yeah,
I mean-
and honestly, DBM is not that big of a hand holder because I'm pretty sure half the people ignore it. So, that's my opinion. But
Look,
yeah,
I'm convinced. I'm convinced that a decent chunk of our raid has no idea what their timers mean.
oh yeah, no,
Like,
I agree. I'm sure that's true. So that's basically yeah, that's it for the raid basically so far. I'm looking forward to it. The rest of it.
Hey, Brash, come on, man. Come on, I don't rage every raid.
He only got mad a couple of times. It's fine. But yeah. So I just want to talk about basically just our overall impressions of the outside world, like Tanan, the shipyard.
It's pretty.
Tanan is party. So we'll start with you, Large. Like, what do you think, first of all, of like you said that it's pretty. So you like it aesthetically.
I do. I definitely like it aesthetically. There are sections that haven't been corrupted by the taints yet, and there are definite sections that have, and it's actually just really cool. Stuff is pretty nicely laid out. You know, it's very episodic in that sense. Everything has its place. Everything is pretty much centered around Hellfire Citadel, which Hellfire Peninsula was, and it looks good. There are a couple of things that are definitely like they don't feel like they're like some of the quests or the new factions, some of the new dailies aren't quite. Some of the areas aren't quite balanced evenly. Like definitely the Iron Front, the Iron Docks, even the Fell Foundry or whatever it's called, all seem to be right. Fellforge. Those all seem to be better places to do those quests than say like the Bleeding Hollow area, which is just ridiculous. The AR Core Wep, yeah, it's slower, but it's real easy to do. It's one quest that you're doing while you're doing everything else. You don't even have to kill mobs if you don't want to, although you're eventually going to run out of treasures to find. But I mean, it's like 1500 rep pop. You know, that's pretty good. I definitely prefer it than to the Saber Stalkers, but I'm just not a huge fan of rep grinds, of just grinding mobs, which is why I don't have a single Draenori exalted yet. Because I'm like, I don't want to go grind mobs.
Yeah.
My Steam Weedle rep is getting there, getting kind of close, but that's literally just because it was like, I could go, oh, I feel like running and going and trapping for some leather, or oh, look, here's one of the rare spawns.
Now
I'll kill it, turn it in for the 500 rep, and move on with my life.
Yeah. I know Brash loves his progress bars. How do you feel about the progress bar kind of thing, basically like the assaults and the bonus objectives?
I like them. I don't mind. I definitely prefer them to just massive go kill 100 of these mobs. I wish that killing a mob and looting an item were a bit more on par with the amount they filled your percentage bars.
Mm-hmm.
Killing a mob will get you 1 rep or 1%. Looting, burning a piece of paper gets you 5.
Yeah, I agree, because I'm like, oh, I'm gonna kill the giant rare dude, or the elite, sorry, giant elite,
and he'll get you like 3.
Yeah, and you're like, oh, okay. I'm like,
and in my case, I do everything in Guardian. Like, it's dumb not to, just because. Like, when we did some grinding of the Saberstalker rep, and him and I went out, and we didn't take a healer with us, and I was pulling 8, 9, 10 mobs, walking away with full health. Like, it just stuff we could do, and it is literally the greatest thing. I was swallowing group dailies. Like, your cat is just all up over you. Can't delay though.
I know, he's so cute.
It's true. But like, it's just there. Crash is right. I'm a tank. I'm used to pulling 20 mobs and AOing them all down. Like, in the time it takes me to kill 20 or 1 mob, I could have killed 20. Like, it's just how it works out. And so when I end up having to pull, or I end up pulling the bigger guys, like, they take 45 seconds to a minute and a half, and I get 3%, where I could have gone and killed 10, done it in 30 seconds, and gotten 10%.
Yeah.
So I think there's some balancing there that they could do, but overall, I definitely prefer it, and I like having the dailies back. I don't, like I said, I don't like just grinding reps. I think that's because I did the insane title. Like, I'm done.
Yeah. And I'm assuming the insane titles get like a shit ton of reps exalted.
So it's get all of the Steam Weedle Cartel to exalted.
Okay.
Which is only doable by rep grinds.
Oh.
But you also have to have flagged the Bloodsail Buccaneers to at least honored.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
That must have been.
It used to be
fun.
You had to keep your Bloodsail Buccaneers rep at honored.
Oh,
which meant you were grinding like 1 mob. It gave you Steam Weedle rep, but didn't drop your rep with Bloodsail Buccaneers.
Yeah.
But I did it after that. So I didn't have to worry about it.
Right. Yeah. My overall impression so far of the Tanan and stuff is, I like how it's like jungly / foresty looking. However, I know it's meant to be dark, but for some reason I feel like it's just a little bit too dark. Like, the stuff with like the fell, like rivers and stuff, like that's fucking amazing. Super green, really like bam in your face. And I guess it's supposed to like, they're going for like the contrast, so it's like the dark jungle, but you got all this really bright fell energy just pouring through it. So it makes sense. But I just wish it was maybe just a little bit brighter.
I think they're going for a grittiness there. I mean, we are talking about this Legion.
Yeah.
And part of just inherent lore of the Legion is, I mean, Infernals rain from the sky. They darken it and they rain from the sky. Like, that's just part of the Legion in the game.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's probably why it's so dark. I mean, it does feel a little bit weird in those areas that aren't Legion held, like Saberstalker area during the day does feel kind of dark and hazy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but in and around like Hellfire Citadel, I don't have any problems with it. And like the Fellforge, it's actually kind of brighter, which is interesting. But you'd expect that because I mean they've got fires going, they've got the green lava everywhere.
Yeah. So overall, it kind of makes sense. So yeah, basically, yeah. So aesthetically, like I like it. I'm not super stoked on it, but I do like it. I do love the Fel and stuff. The whole concept, like at first when I heard there was only going to be 3 dailies, I was kind of disappointed just because I wanted a bit more of a story, and I felt like 3 dailies wasn't going to really cut it. But then you realize like the 3 dailies, they turn into a couple more dailies, and you're like, okay, this isn't so bad, but I still feel like they're missing the story because like obviously back in MoP there was a shit ton of dailies, but they led to an amazing storyline. I felt.
Yeah, no, and I agree. Like the Calaxy dailies, when you get them, led to some really cool kind of lore that kind of forecast and foreshadowed what happened with them later, and definitely was a lot of that. I think the shift here in Draenor though is they're going for those daily kind of stories being told through Garrison campaign.
Yeah, and that's okay, I guess. I guess I want just a little bit more of that, because I did enjoy the Garrison campaigns.
Yeah, no, and it's definitely a step back, or a step. They definitely swung a little bit too far in my mind from the Mists of Pandalia, World of Dailycraft. That was Mist of Pan.
I see what you did there.
Mists of Pandaria.
I see what you did there.
But at least in Pandaria, you had those story elements to them, and the Isle of Thunder was really cool, and the 6 point or the 5.1, the Lions Landing, and whatever the Horde one was called. I don't know what the Horde one was called because all I did was kill shit in Lions Landing. So I was only ever in the Horde one to pick up my quests and turn them in.
Yeah.
But
so
there's definitely you're lacking that, but I still think that's a lot better than throwing on a tabard and I'm gonna go run dungeons for a couple of days.
No, I totally agree with that. I mean, I think that's just, even though I did it a lot in Kata, I joined in Kata, so I was trying to get all of the Horde faction reps and stuff. Title. But I agree. I don't like that concept. I like, even though again I wasn't part of it, but I love the fact that you actually had to get exalted before you could get the tabard. Like it was a sign of an accomplishment.
Right, and that's how it was. I mean, that's how it was in Vanilla, and that's how it was in Burning Crusade. They changed that over in Wrath, and it went from being a tool to get to exalted to being now I'm exalted, I get to wear this cool tabard. Like Shattered Sun tabard, the Shattered Sun offensive tabard. It's a pretty badass tabard, and I remember quite a few people using it because it looked so cool. And they finally got to exalted in Burning Crusade. And I remember wearing my Cenarian Cenarian Expedition. That's the one in actual Burning in Outland. I wore that forever when I got there, and I played my Druid in this forever, and I was swinging an Earth Warden, which you can only have if you were exalted with the Gardener or the Cenarian Expedition.
Yeah, see, and that concept, Brash, that's really cool. Like you actually wanted to check the tabard or what it looked like, so then you kind of were like, ooh, like this one's really dope, maybe I'll get this one first or whatever. And that's a really cool concept. I mean, obviously there are rewards for these reps. There's like pets, there's followers and all this other stuff, but I don't know, it's not this, I feel like it's not quite the same. So basically to me the dailies are a little bit lackluster and could have been done a little bit better.
At the same time though, I think the dailies are going to be great because right now I'm going to grind my dailies every day until I hit Revered. When I hit Revered, if I feel like doing dailies, I'll do some dailies.
Yep.
But because the Revered is the threshold for flying, I'm going to get to there, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to do them as I want to, which definitely feels better than the. I was doing 150 dailies every day in Mists of Pandaria at first month because the about 12 hours after Mists of Pandaria went live was when I started playing my druid, and then I got him to 85, 90, sorry, 90, and then I got 4 hours sleep, and then leveled my warrior to 90, and I dungeon geared him out, and I started running dailies. And I ran them on both tunes, and kept doing them because I knew I needed to gear my druid for Savior's Raid, our own Savior's Raid, which is the guild I used to not only raid lead but guild master for, and then I knew my warrior needed to be geared out because I was part of the progression group in Cataclysm. I wanted to keep that. And because I had these kind of dual loyalties, I had to do twice as much work. And so I burnt out really, really quick.
Yeah, and that makes sense. I mean, for me, even though we're diverting a little bit, for me, like I was pretty late with dailies. It wasn't until I got really into the lore that I actually did do the dailies for the story, and obviously they were beneficial. And I'm glad that I did them, but I was quite late, so I didn't really burn out on them. And as Brash said, he only did one set for one faction per day, and unfortunately you had to do it.
I wish I could. I wish I could have done that, but I had my druid to gear for tanking. I got my warrior geared for fury and tanking. The first couple of runs of Motion Vaults we did, I wasn't even rolling on tank gear because I thought we were going to have another tank. I was going to get to be fury, and that just didn't work out. And so I ended up being prot for the rest of the way. And because of that, I had to get the rep as fast as I could, make sure that I had access to my Valor gear as soon as I could. I had access to my recipes as soon as I could. And it just... What could you do?
Yeah, totally understand. So I think my overall impression of Tanaan, what I noticed is there's a couple of areas that are like blocked off by like fiery gates and stuff. So
Is there? I haven't seen those yet.
There's
I haven't done a ton of exploring in the sense of what's over here.
Yeah, there's
it's been pretty guided for me so far.
Well, there's that one by the flight path, next to the the dinosaur swamp area. The flight path there, and it has that cave, and it's all covered with blocked off.
Dinosaur swamp.
Yeah, like at the very bottom, very south. Damn it, Large. And there's a fiery cave there, and then if you go straight, you basically go north out of Volmar. There's a little area there that also has a green fel fire gate thing blocking it, and I tried to feather in, and it teleported me out. But basically,
it's probably got a rare of some variety tied to it, or a quest. I bet it's a garrison campaign quest.
Oh yeah,
tied to it
probably. And so I'm looking forward to that kind of stuff. Those are some things I noticed while I was running around and stuff. And so overall, I'm hopeful. I'm still hopeful for these for the dailies and the garrison campaign and whatnot. The overall thing about Tanaan is I'm hopeful. I'm not completely disappointed yet, but
I admit
I'm
a bit disappointed in the shipyard.
Oh my god!
And that could just be my luck. My luck today could be influencing it some.
I honestly, as soon as I kind of saw the map of the shipyard, the map of the missions and stuff, I understand what they were going with it, but I don't know, it was just aesthetically pleasing. Wow, pleasing wasn't pretty to look at.
Unappealing. I think you were,
that's what I was looking for.
I think you were combining not appealing and unappeasing. Or now you've got me doing it. Unappealing.
Exactly. Yeah. So anyway, I honestly didn't really like it to start out with. That. I mean, I like the concept of most people probably don't like this, is that if you fail and a ship gets destroyed. I like that just because then you don't have, excuse me, in the lack of having ships, because then you don't have a bazillion ships that are like, you just click one button. Excuse me, I don't know what's going on. You click one button and everything just goes boop 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 boop. I kind of like that.
That's fair, but I mean it also gives you what happened to me. I had a 91% chance of succeeding my mission. I sent a green one and a blue one, and I failed and lost my blue one. Like, I wouldn't have been upset at all had I not lost, or if I had lost my green one. I'd have been like, damn it, it happens. Oh well, I got to deal with it. But I lost my blue one, and I'm like, well, now I've got to start over, and my new ship was a green one, and so it was just kind of like,
yeah. I mean that's shitty, but like to me that's like just part of the role, you know. It's gambling. That's basically what it is.
Yeah. No, and that's fair. I don't like the same time. I don't like the, well, now I'm just going to make sure I have 100% on everything before I do it.
Yeah,
like,
that's true. I mean I understand that, because like I know the feel basically. I mean, I don't know. I agree though, because like that's what I'm doing. Like I'm not sending a ship that I have that's at 36% and it literally sits there and does nothing, and so I'm losing out on a chance of a mission. But like,
right, and I guess that's another thing, because it's there are no, so with followers you had 1-person missions, you had 2-people missions, and you had 3-people missions. Having an odd number of followers, it was still really easy to end everyone out.
Yeah.
The shipyard, there is 1 ship missions and 2 ship missions, at least at this point. Now that might change when we get to level 3. I don't know, but like I sent my ships out. And once again, I had one ship mission, and it was for a battleship. So I have the submarine sitting in my shipyard, not doing anything.
Mm-hmm.
And it wouldn't be an issue, and I probably wouldn't be so annoyed about it if it weren't for the fact that the quest moniker for the completion of the legendary quest line, which is tied to the shipyard, at least part of it is complete so many missions. And if you fail those missions, they don't complete. You don't get credit for them. So you've got to succeed on these missions. So this kind of I've got 5 ships, okay, but I can only send 4 of them out because I don't have a 1-ship mission to send out the 5th one, or in my case, the 7th. So that's kind of annoying. I feel like it's kind of like an artificial gating. It doesn't really need to happen.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I agree. And speaking of the so much depth, it's like when you complete that first quest, upgrade your shipyard, nothing fucking happens. It literally stays the same fucking thing.
Yeah,
you don't even get a cheesy cutscene or anything. It's like literally like I had to
turn in the quest. Turn in the quest, and an achievement pops up.
Yeah, and so it's like, oh, okay. And so I'm like, so that was really like, wow. It just made me hate the shipyard even more.
Well, like on top of that, like every time you complete a ship, you get the ship launching cinematic.
I know,
like,
it's so.
I was sitting there and I saw that, and I'm like, okay, that's pretty cool. That's kind of cool. And then I'm like, oh, this is gonna be there's gonna be this great, like, when you were upgrading like your garrison, like from 1 to 2 and 2 to 3, kind of cinematic. And it was an achievement, and I'm just like, is that it?
Yeah, totally.
And then, like, it's not actually tied to your garrison. Like, if you're in group with somebody, you're both sitting at the same shipyard.
Yeah, it's yeah, like, I mean, it's okay. I'll give them that. That's actually a good thing, because it's getting a little bit away from sitting solo in your garrison. At least you can see some people.
Well, right, but at the same time, I mean, realistically, I'm only ever in my garrison now because I'm waiting for a queue pop, or I'm chit-chatting with somebody and we're trying to make plans as what we're gonna do. Otherwise, I'm out hanging in Tanan, like,
yeah,
where everybody is. And it's really cool, like running into people and seeing them. Like I was on a flight path just behind Day for a little while, and then like we landed at the same time. Like there's a ton of cool little things like that, and that's really cool. It's nice to have that back.
True fucking that. True
Right.
that. So salty.
I don't know. There is the thing about the fact that ground content can only last so long, and it allows like I'm really looking forward to finally going back and getting all the treasures and hunting down all my rare spawns, and which I didn't want to do because I hate jumping puzzles in MMOs. And it might be because I played Star Wars, and Star Wars loves its jumping puzzles, and my brother sucked at them, and so I had to life grip him through them. That probably did me in, but MMOs don't have the controls of a platformer. Like, there shouldn't be jumping puzzles. Or walking tightrope things. Like, that shouldn't be a part of an MMO. And when I get flying, I don't have to worry about it anymore.
Dude, that's funny because like I completely disagree. I think the jumping puzzles were like one of the coolest things they added because it was like you actually had to use your brain, kind of,
well,
not really.
I'm sorry. Now there were a couple of jumping puzzles. I agree. The ones that you actually had to think about how you were going to do them, like the one on the Isle of Thunder where you had to jump across.
Yes,
You had like memorize the pattern of where the bad thing was going to be, so that you could jump across it. That one was okay. Mostly because that one, if you didn't quite time your jump right, you still made it across the gap.
Yep. So,
but some of the other ones in like the Spires of Iraq going for some of the treasures there, I'm just like, no, I'm done.
That's sad. I mean, I feel bad. I'm hoping that it was Star Wars that made you salty about that because it makes me feel better. Because if you had to do that a shit ton, I could see why it would be annoying at this point.
Every little like secret side thing that gives you any kind of bonus in any way in Star Wars is put behind a jumping puzzle.
Okay, yeah, I can see how that would be hella annoying.
And like some of them are like you climbing on things that are not supposed to be things you climb on. So like occasionally you'll get stuck because of pathing issues, and you'll like plummet to the bottom and have to start the puzzle over again.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah. So, I mean, I am kind of over like having to try to get onto a fucking mountain and glide her into a tree. Like you
exactly.
You heard me how annoyed I was when I was like, that fucking treasure in the fucking tree, fuck you. I was really not happy about it being in a tree.
So there's one treasure in a tree that I got tonight that I went and I clicked this mound on the ground, and this tentacle popped out and then set me on the tree branch I needed to be on.
What? I hope it's the same tree because like I'm just like I don't want to glide into that fucking tree. But I mean, again, I don't mind that, and the rares in Tanan, I'm actually digging. Sure, they're kind of easy or whatever, but I like them, and I'm actually digging. I really like the world boss. I think he's a dope graphic. Just like all of his attacks are really like in your face, like green and stuff.
I'm a little disappointed in his graphic, and the reason why I'm disappointed in his graphic is because, as far as I remember, and I could be wrong here, but as far as I remember, all of his other graphics were unique models.
Okay.
Where this one, he's the Doom Guard or the Terror Guard or whatever the new model is.
Yeah.
At the upgraded one Warlocks can summon.
Oh, okay.
Where he used to be a unique model. So
Gotcha.
I'm a little disappointed there, but I think he's a lot of fun. I still have no idea what he does.
Yeah.
Because nature of 40 man or the nature of world bosses,
yeah.
you get you get 20, 25, 30, 40 people and you throw them at him until he's dead.
Yeah.
You just hope you've got a couple of tanks who kind of know what they're doing, and some healers to help keep those tanks alive, and you corpse rush it.
Yeah,
but
pretty much.
But no, I like some of the rares. I like the fact that there are rares that you have to have groups for, and you have to like solve a little puzzle to get to them. Like those are fun.
Yeah.
Even if I'm like I have no idea how to do this.
Yeah, those little things that's the thing is that's what I feel that Blizz is missing in a lot of other aspects of the game is those little things. Like some people might sorry, let me think before I speak. A lot of people probably like complain about those little things that they have to do. They're like, oh, why don't you just let us do everything raffle? And it's like, it's just like, and because of that, there's some little things missing from some of the really cool parts of the game. And I'm glad that they have some things like that. 'Cause the little things are what like Brash is talking about, like using the glider. Yeah, it becomes a story, and I'm totally for that. But for me, I'm over it. And
no, there's
the glider thing.
There's a difference between using that glider, solving a cool puzzle by using the glider, or finding the glider, which then lets you solve the puzzle.
Yeah. Like in the Grand, that was cool.
Having to go to the glider 4 times, or 6 times for 4 treasures.
Yeah. And
there's a difference between jumping off this mountain and gliding up onto this high point on the giant crystal. I mean, like, oh, cool! Like now I got this cool item because I think that one was like a sword or something.
Yeah.
And doing it again, but this time going into a tree and getting 25 garrison resources.
Sorry. Yeah, exactly, and that's basically what it boils down for me. And like I said, and those little things that happen, just those little tiny puzzles or anything like that, that's a story, and that's what Blizzard really needs to get back to. I think they're really missing the story of, like, and when I say story, I mean like you have a story, you have some shared experience with another person and all that kind of stuff, and that's building community. And obviously for a while now Blizzard has really diminished the ability to create a community and have a community.
I think part of that though is the community ourselves.
Sure.
There was lots of clamoring for things like the looking for dungeon, looking for group,
and that's and that's what kind of broke it, which is really sad.
It definitely didn't help. At the same time though, like it helped him for what, like it's just grown. The game's grown beyond and gone to the next segment of what the looking for group tool was, and because of that, it's kind of But at the time, it was needed. Like, I remember being a tank, and like, I did everything with Bella, and that was just because when Bella was on, we fought for her because she was one of our few healers, and DPS were a dime a dozen, and healers were really hard to come by. I remember I used to be able to go tank looking for a Vault of Arcanon, and I'd instantly have a guild or a group invite. Like, I remember that, but at the same time, I remember being the DPS going and sitting for a couple of hours, and then maybe you'd get the group.
Sure.
Or in Burning Crusade, you had to say what kind of tank you were, and air tanks didn't have any CC, and so unless you had a group that had CC in it in other places, some of those heroics were pretty rough without it. And so, or you had to be careful because if you got, if you were doing the Netherstorm ones, and you were only, your druid, you had your druid tank, or you only had a druid healer, or if you didn't have, like, at the time, druids didn't have an out of combat res, like all we had was battle res.
Yeah.
So there were things like that were kind of
Sure.
And the looking for group tool, really the LFG tool, the dungeon finder, whatever you want to call it, it helped. The random group maker.
I'm sure it did. But and this is coming from an outside perspective because obviously I wasn't there. I wasn't there sitting for hours waiting to get into a group, maybe. But to me, it's like, there's chances that you'll get that shit happening anyways in a group finder. I don't know if it was much different back then. I guess looking for group was only
at the time it was only on the server.
Yeah, it was only on the server, so it might have been a bit better.
Might have been battle group. I miss battle groups.
Yeah, so at the time it might have been better, but again, I guess the unfortunate effect of that was just people. Maybe, you know what? I think Brash and I actually talked about this. Maybe it wasn't Wrath, okay? It wasn't the initial looking for group, because like you said, it was server, so you still had to be helpful. You couldn't be a dick, because people would be like, yo, you're a dick.
Right, no, yeah, if you were a dick, if you were really bad, right,
yeah,
and
exactly.
If you were a ninja, you were blacklisted. You didn't get to do anything.
Mm-hmm. So,
you know, I remember lists of names I had on ignore that were known ninjas that never did anything. And I mean, that was still kind of true in Wrath, but there it was the things you couldn't looking for group for. You had to pug, you know, you had to be on the server for like AOA or VOA.
Yeah. And so that makes sense. So it wasn't necessarily that instance, but when it became cross-server, that's when the actual issue became, because people could be complete assholes, be completely toxic, and just fuck off because they're like, "Oh, I'm never gonna see you again." And I think that's where it started. And Brash actually brought that up when we were having a conversation, and I think it's totally true.
At the same time, though, we could have situations like we had tonight, where that healer or that priest, that holy priest from With Pancakes.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, there's somebody, like, I hadn't seen anybody with Pancakes in forever, and then you know, suddenly there's a guy from With Pancakes, and you're like, hey, it's an alt Dragonblight group, and it's really cool.
Yeah, and that story, like, that's still a thing that is community, and that's why I think, like, if we went back to like just servers, sure, it might be a little rough to get people, but now with the merged servers, it probably wouldn't be that bad if we just went to server based looking for group. I don't know.
I honestly don't know. I know at one point, at the point where it was still server, Dragonblight was one of the largest servers in the game. That's definitely not the case anymore.
Yeah. So it could be rough, but I mean, I know Blizz will never go backwards in that kind of regard, but I mean, it'd be interesting to see at this point if people would still be complete assholes, or if it would be people would start to learn that, yo, you can't be doing this because people aren't going to want to group with you, and you're just going to be left doing nothing but fucking looking for raid.
I think unfortunately it has another side of it too. Like, I avoid LFR like the plague.
Yeah.
And because of that, like, I very rarely will go in, even with an almost completely full guild group, and do a random dungeon. Like, I aim for full guild groups, and that's just because I know all those people.
Yep.
And with the perk of being an officer, if I find out one of our new guild people is a dick, I can, you know, wow, they are apparently a legit group. Guild still. Who is in With Pancakes?
Oh my God, that's awesome. They're beating us, guys. They're beating us.
Like, you don't see any of them on.
Wow, Regiment of Chaos is still cracking. Yeah, and that's cool. And that's the thing, is like, if they maybe kept looking for raid, cross server, because that was pretty just server based. I remember that. But maybe looking for group server base wouldn't be so bad, and like people that want to raffle through stuff can go still do looking for raid and all that stuff. I don't know. I think it would be an interesting idea, but I don't know if they'll ever do it.
Yeah, no, I think in some situations it's too much of a backslide.
And that's funny. Like Brash makes a good point. You don't see them because you never leave your garrison, and that's not a direction at you, but that's just the direction of how the game is. You know.
Well, I mean, maybe they came back for Draenor, but even in Pandaria, when everyone was in Shrine, I never saw them.
Yeah.
You know, you see one, maybe two,
right?
Every month, every other month, but like,
yeah.
So maybe they've all come back for Draenor. Yeah. That's what it is.
And I mean, a lot of the people that quit in like Burning Crusade or Wrath, or probably even Kata and stuff, they came back for Warlords. And just to kind of go off topic a little bit, is that this expansion, like, sure, Kata had a huge dip in subscriptions, but Warlords got to the same low as Kata, but quicker. And it's like, I'm not really sure who are the ones unsubscribing. Is it the people that came back and were thoroughly disappointed, or is it the new, like, kind of like mid-range players that have been here for a little bit, like me, been here for a little bit, or like, you know, this isn't spectacular.
I think a lot of what you saw, I mean, some of it is the cyclic nature of community. I mean, there's a fairly decent size of it, and especially now, where realistic, or maybe not now, 6.2 has definitely helped. But at 6.0 and 6.1, if you weren't raiding, there was nothing to do.
Yeah, exactly. And like Brash has said tons of times in previous pods, raids don't keep people in the game. It's like,
right. No,
for him specifically, like he's gonna, if he's not having fun, he's gonna leave. And obviously, and we've talked about it, where like he wishes like more people would just do that and kind of show Blizz that with subs, like, yo, there's a problem here. But it's never going to be that, because the people, the casuals that are in, they're the ones that, you know, they keep their subscription going all year, every year, and play 1 hour a day or whatever they can.
Now see, like, I mean, I've never unsubscribed. Even in the times when I wasn't even playing. Like, we've had dead periods of time where we weren't raiding and I wasn't playing. I was still playing Blizzard games, but I wasn't playing Warcraft. But at the same time, there is the definite sense that, you know, it's okay to suddenly, like, well, I don't have to log in because there really isn't anything else. There isn't anything else to do. Like, I'm not burned out before I get to raid night.
Yeah, and that's a good thing.
I mean, there's that, and yeah, there are people who are coming and going, and I'm sure there were quite a few people who came in and were like, "This sucks," and I'm done, and they left. And to be honest, leveling in Draenor was awesome. I have not ever had anywhere near as much fun leveling as I did through Draenor, and I hate it. I hate leveling.
Right.
I enjoy gearing a tune, tweaking it out, min-maxing it, and then being like, "Damn, getting the new level cap? Oh, thank you." And I had a ton of fun this go round. It's not enough to make me play an alt religiously, other than I might now start playing my hunter, but I'll probably play that for completely unrelated reasons.
Yeah.
But, and I think that was the issue, was you had this really high expectation going into the end game, and end game was raiding, and that was it.
Yeah. Yeah, and so basically I realized we're at an hour and a half.
We are.
And what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna let you guys know, is that I'm not gonna like do a formatted 1 hour raid time and then the next hour will be what, or however long it will be the after show. I'll kind of just gauge where we are, and if I feel like this is a point where we can do after show, I'll do it. So I'm gonna do for the last however half an hour or so, probably 25 minutes. I'm just gonna switch over to the after show, and that means like Xanil and Arculos, if you want to join in the conversation, you're more than welcome to. I appreciate you guys chilling and being respectful, quiet people. So we'll just go into the